Hello there and welcome to Fairyland Cottage, and thanks very much for joining me here today. I thought I'd share a few fundamentals that I feel are important when living a zero waste, sustainable or simple life. Let's get into the first one, being supporting small businesses. Now, we all know around the world small businesses have been hugely affected last year. A lot of them are still struggling. We don't have hairdressers open here in Ireland. So this small business decided to make some hair dyes and then sell them in a local food shop which is still open. Now these hair dyes are all natural ingredients, all herbs, so I'm not putting any toxic chemicals on my head. And I wanted to support them, and it brings me then on to the second fundamental, which is doing things yourself. Now I find this a balance I'm working on over the years where I'm supporting small businesses, eco and sustainable businesses, and then also making my own products myself. So with this, I was able to support the business by buying a natural product that they had made, and then of course put it on my hair myself. Which brings me on to the third fundamental, which is when living this type of lifestyle, things can get messy. So putting these herbs on my head was incredibly messy, and thank goodness the rain stopped and the sun shone, so I went outside, which was much more practical. But it got me thinking about how living a sustainable life isn't always pretty. It isn't what you see online with pretty glass jars and everything organised. It's messy. It's just using what you have. If you get something, you have some waste, finding a way to reuse that rather than having something pretty. So this type of living isn't always aesthetically pleasing. The fourth fundamental is growing something yourself. Now there is nothing more sustainable than going to your backyard or going to your windowsill to pluck some herbs to then use in a cup of tea or in your dinner. And I think it's a great way, even if you don't even need a garden, you can get a little pot on a windowsill and grow some mint or grow some parsley, say, to use in soups. But what's great is that you know exactly what you are ingesting. So you're not ingesting any harsh chemicals, because a lot of vegetables we know are sprayed, or a lot of herbs. And you're also not buying something in a shop that has a product that has travelled from across the world. So it's just a really simple way, just growing something, even if it's just one thing. Which brings me on to the fifth fundamental, which is compromise. Now this has been a big one over last year. There's been so many different restrictions, so we haven't been able to do what we usually do. But everybody has a different scenario, different circumstances. Everybody's budget is different. So it's just being able to compromise and doing the best you can with your situation. So in relation to this vinegar here, we have a big plastic bottle of vinegar. I buy that, it lasts about a year, and it's the compromise that I make. So here I've made up some steel wool and vinegar, which is going to be used to stain some wood. That brings me on to the sixth fundamental, which is getting creative. So I didn't want to be buying any harsh chemicals to be staining the wood, and I couldn't find anything natural. So I had to get creative. I looked at other resources, I talked to different people, and I found this one, whereas you put some steel wool in a jar, you fill the jar up with vinegar, and then you literally forget about it for a few weeks to a few months. And then you get this beautiful stain that you can use on wood that I've used now multiple times. So I'm really happy with how the shelves turned out. We got these slabs of wood in a skip, they just needed some light sanding. And we got the brackets and popped them up. But it brings me on to the seventh fundamental, which is not being attached to the outcome. So when you're using more natural and simple products, I find that it's not always the same as when I used to use more harsh chemicals. So in relation to this vinegar and steel wool dye, what happens is, it depends what wood that you're putting it onto. It changes colour depending. So you never really know what's going to happen in the end. So it's very much about going with the flow and not being attached to perfect outcomes. But I'm delighted how the wood took hold of this stain, and I think it's beautiful warm colour it gave. And all I'm breathing in is a little bit of vinegar until it dries. So I've had the dye on my hair now for about an hour and a half, so I'm going to wash it off, and it brings me on to the 8th fundamental, which is knowing what's right for you. Now, of course, I know that it's better to let my hair dry naturally, not be using electricity or a hairdryer, but I like to dry my hair. I use it on the coolest setting. So I think it's really important of knowing what's best for you, not listening to judgments of other people telling you how you should be living your life. There's always going to be compromise, and we're all just doing the best we can. It's been very happy with where you're at. So there are a few fundamentals that I think are important for this lifestyle. I'd love to know any ideas you have in the comments below or over on Instagram. So thank you very much for watching this video. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful week. Keep it simple, and I'll see you in the next video.